Hello, everybody. It is the 28th of November, 2018. I'm sure everybody just had a wonderful, I hope everybody just had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Much to be thankful for and preparing for Christmas now. So today's Zoom call, we're going to I'm going to chat briefly on this issue of copper and how it relates to cancers and what we can do about it. So there is a phenomena, there's much data out there of copper's relationship to cancer because copper is an important, very essential element in growth. It is known that as we age, our copper concentration goes down. And part of the belief in that is that we don't need as much copper as we age. Uh, Copper is essential with growth and cell replication. It's important for that. And you can measure your copper levels in your blood. Typically, they're measured in a blood test that also measures zinc. So let's talk about that. We're not going to go through all these different slides, but there's a few that we want to talk about, this one in particular. So when we measure a person's copper level, we typically measure their copper-zinc ratio. And I've done that on a number of you, and we can run that on all of you if you want. We just have to send you a kit that is a blood. There's two ways to do it. You could do it through a blood draw, and you could do it through a finger prick. So the finger prick is where you put drops of blood on a little dot on a paper. That can be kind of a pain if you're a good clotter, because you might have to prick yourself multiple times to get the dot filled with blood. That's called a blood spot test. And there's a lab that we use that does a blood spot copper zinc ratio test. And it gives us some valuable data. And there's numerous studies. Here's just some links to some of the studies where this is coming from, right down at the bottom of the slide here. But the numerous studies show that many people, not all cancer patients, but many people with cancer have an increased copper to zinc ratio, meaning that their copper levels are higher than it should be compared to the zinc levels. And another thing that you can measure also is called your CP. That's called your ceruloplasmin. The ceruloplasmin is your copper transporter. So the copper transporter can also be elevated in cancer patients. So cancer patients with elevated serum, that's your blood copper, or ceruloplasmin, can correlate with tumor burden. So that term tumor burden means an increase in tumor growth. So this is another way, you're talking about other ways to know that I'm getting better or know if I'm getting worse. Well, one is an IVG test. One is obviously your symptoms. One is if you have, different blood markers like a CEA-125 or different tumor markers or a prostate PSA antigen that's revealing that it's rising or falling. That can tell us if we're getting better or maybe getting worse. And so we can look at those. We could do CT scans, MRIs. But we can also look at things like your copper zinc ratio and your ceruloplasmin levels. These would be considered as primary things to see if our burden is getting worse or not, but it can be a good picture because it's something that you can actually take action on to drop copper levels. So why would copper levels go up in cancer patients when the cancer is growing? And that is because copper is essential for cell replication. So if we can drop copper levels down, then we can hinder cell replication. And this is why we don't want to put people on supplements that have a lot of copper in them. Whereas there are a lot of supplements on the market that have copper in them, because if you don't have cancer, copper is good for you, and you want to be able to heal quickly, and you want, especially if you're working out and breaking down muscle because you're lifting weights and doing all this work, you want cells to replicate and muscles to grow and build up. So there's going to be a call and a need for copper. But when we're dealing with cancer, we don't want elevated copper levels. So we want to do things to get rid of copper. Oh, we're not going to go over some of these detailed slides. This shows what copper does in the metabolic pathway. We don't want to go too much into that. Well, I'm going to come back to that slide. But here's how we would get rid of excess copper. Now, we already have numerous patients. Number of you might be taking a copper homeopath right now. So a homeopath is a frequency of copper in a dropper form. So it's a dropper that you're putting under your tongue, and that's helping your body recognize and help your body rid excess copper out of your body. There's also specific nutrition that can help chelate copper out of your body. Cilantro is known to help chelate copper. Humate and fulvic acid is known to chelate copper. IP6 can chelate copper. EDTA and DMSO are stronger chelators that chelate a lot of heavy metals. Well, so do all these things here chelate heavy metals too. And copper is a metal. So we want to use those type of chelators to pull out. Not on here is modified citrus pectin. That could also be a good chelator of copper. So if you're on any of the citrus pectin, the MCP Synergy, or the Pectisol C, that is a good chelator of copper as well. So those are good things to help pull copper out of your body. How are we exposed to copper? We'll go back to this slide. Copper is naturally occurring in a lot of our foods. So your vegetables that you eat do have copper in it. So you are going to be exposed to good food-based sources of copper in good foods like vegetables. Still, we don't want excess copper, regardless of whether it's coming from a good source or a bad source. Here's some bad sources of copper. There could be in our water, elemental copper in our water, copper pipes. If you could have copper in your water from your copper pipes. You're using copper cookware, copper pots, and it can be in a lot of pesticides and things like that as well. So those are elemental sources of copper that aren't really beneficial for your body, and they can stimulate excess growth as well. So one of the things that we use a lot in our office is its opposing nutrient, or its opposing metal, because zinc is a metal too. Zinc balances copper. So remember, what did we look for when we look at a person's blood levels? If they have excess copper, they're going to have diminished zinc. So that copper to zinc ratio is going to be elevated. That means they're going to have excess amounts of copper and decreased amounts of zinc. So if we added zinc to our diet, would that be enough? Not necessarily just adding zinc. You still want to do the chelators as well, but adding zinc would be beneficial. How do we get zinc into the tumor? That's the difficult thing. Without injecting it right into the tumor, how do we get it into the tumor? And that's where we came up with that zinc DMSO spray that many of you are taking. So this is, again, to remind you why you're doing that. Why am I spraying this zinc DMSO spray on my body? I forget to do that. I haven't done that for a few weeks. Well, this is just a healthy reminder. The reason why you're doing that is to drive the zinc into the cancer to help offset those high levels of copper and help push that copper out into the blood, so your body can get rid of it, your liver can get rid of it. If you're taking chelating agents, that can grab onto it and pull it out of your body. So we want to increase our zinc levels to help decrease our copper levels. Okay, so I'm going to open us up for questions, and I'm going to unmute you. So we'll take a few questions. And I forgot I have to answer this question that I got on email too. So any questions out there?
Yeah, this is Ken Rosentrader from Anchorage, Alaska.
Yes.
This is probably a weird question, but I've noticed the last 2 or 3 months that, well, here's my question. So is there ever an example of the Rife machine creating insomnia?
Can the Rife machine create insomnia? Absolutely, it could. So anything can wake you up, right? So if you are a real light sleeper, like I'm a super light sleeper, I was the one that first woke up with all our kids. I could hear them roll over in bed, it seemed like. But the Rife machine, while I answer this, I'm going to mute everybody. We're getting some feedback. So when we, anything that is going to be a light in your room can increase your, it could decrease your ability to stay sleeping. So that is an issue with some people. If you cover it up, make sure, so some of my fixes for that would be to try to keep it underneath your blanket, put the machine itself farther away from the bed and cover it up some way. We can get extension wires. So right now, I think the wires from the bulb to the machine, I don't know, maybe are 6-8 feet long. We've had a couple of people that we've got extension wires from TrueRife for them that went another 10 feet so that they could put the machine in the closet and close the closet door, and they would hear less of the sound from that, because many times it's the sound. So you're going to have to play with some ways to help decrease whatever it is that's keeping you awake. And it's not the frequencies that are going to keep you awake, because there really isn't anything in your programming unless you have a brain cancer or running brain frequencies. Then I wouldn't say that the frequencies would be the thing that would be probably keeping you awake. I think it'd be the sound and the light that's probably keeping you awake. So those are the things that I would play with.
Okay, I appreciate that. The sound doesn't, I don't think bothers me. I hardly ever hear anything. I do cover up the plug-in thing, forget what it's called, you know, I cover that later, but I wasn't sure I should cover the Rife machine because I didn't want it to overheat.
Yeah, you don't want to cover the top where the air flow goes. You don't want to cover that. I'd for sure cover the lights on the front of the machine up.
Yeah, okay.
Again, I think I've told multiple of you that if I built the machine, I would not have lights on the front of the machine.
Okay.
Yeah, try a few things and see if that makes a difference.
Okay. I will let you know that I'm not a light sleeper.
You're a heavy sleeper and it still keeps you up.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it is for sure. I just wanted to ask the question. And that could be that I've been on Taxotere chemo. I don't know if that does it. But
yeah, that's possible too. You might want to Google that and see if that's one of the side effects of that.
Okay, thank you for your time, and I so appreciate the video blog you're doing. Thank you.
You bet. We had another question come in via chat. It says, how do I know if I should have the copper zinc ratio test done, or is this a determination you've made at the 2-day evaluation? Well, it is partly determined at the 2-day evaluation if copper is a real driver in your cancer and we put you on a copper homeopath or gave you the copper zinc spray. However, most people's 2-day evaluation was quite some time ago. So I don't know off the top of my head the cost of that copper zinc ratio test. I think it's less than $100 though. So I can find out in the next day or so and post it on Facebook. So if anybody wants to do that test, I'll look it up and see what the cost of that test is. So then that'd give you an idea whether it's a value to you to do that or not. Okay, any other questions?
Dr. Connors. I don't know, how can I talk to them?
Yes.
Dr. Connors, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, during Thanksgiving, I suddenly started breaking out with little blisters. It started out, it looked like kind of like mosquito bite that was larger than a mosquito bite. And also, like, then they came out with little blisters on my finger and on my hand. Do you have any idea what those might be?
Are they like a big spot of them, or just like one here, one there?
It's occurred on my legs. There's probably about 5 or 6 on each one of my legs. And on my arms, there's a couple on my arms.
Are they pus filled?
Yeah.
They are. They have pus in them.
Yeah, there's a kind of a, like I said, it's like a mosquito bite
With
or
Pimple came on top, right?
yeah, pimple comes up on the top of it.
Okay. So rashes of any kind, you start asking questions like, okay, is it topical type dermatitis, meaning that the skin was irritated from something that irritated it from the outside in? And that would be a type of insect bite. Oh, well, it couldn't be that if you got multiple in an area and another area, unless you had multiple spider bites or something like that, which that's possibility, but probably not if you'd
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't look like a spider bite, nor it's just too big for a mosquito or anything like that.
Okay.
And I think they're too far, they're spread apart. They're spread out to, like I said, about 4 or 5 on each of my legs and then on my arms as well.
Do they itch?
Yes,
Terribly.
Okay.
terribly.
Okay, so we know there's a histamine reaction going on there then too. So then you're back to, could it be something topical? Like, am I having a sensitivity to the laundry detergent? Am I having a sensitivity to something I'm putting on, like a lotion or something like that? You investigate that piece, a soap or something like that. And you go, well, I've been using this laundry detergent or this soap for years. Why would I break out? It's when our body's chemistry changes a little bit, we can react to things. So
Okay.
that's one thing you'd want to investigate. Then secondly, you go, okay, is it something from the inside out? So
Yeah.
from the inside out, then you could think of a histamine type reaction to a food. So I'm having a food reaction, a food sensitivity reaction in my skin. That's not uncommon. So then you have to start investigating, did I change anything I eat? Even a brand. So that brand might have a chemical like a dye in it, like red dye number 2 or something like that. Look and investigate that. Or is it my body detoxing something? So
That's what I was wondering. You know, when he started, it's probably been 3 or 4 weeks ago that we did the review for the genetic review. Okay,
Yep.
so we weren't able to get the supplements right away. And but right away I started on the turmeric really heavily. And then when we got the supplements, the first, after maybe 3 days, I can't remember what the reaction was, but I remember, oh, I wonder if this is detox. Well, then the next week he complained about his having some, like a dull ache in his kidneys. So he increased his water and that passed. The next week he complained about his kidneys, there was sharp pain there. And so he used cranberry juice concentrate and that passed. Okay. So now this is, so I'm wondering, is this detoxing or what?
yeah, that's what it sounds like. Either that or he's just a complainer.
No,
Just kidding.
no way.
Sorry. So I think it sounds like he's detoxing. So this is what I want to do. I want to look and review again what we put him on for. I think what's happening is we're pulling stuff out of his body, but it's not getting through his liver and his kidneys to get out, so it's coming out his skin.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
So let me look. We're probably pulling too quickly. So it's evidence that number one, he's got junk that needs to come out.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to, that's a nice way of saying you're full of it, but I didn't want to say that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
number two, it's not coming out the pathways that we want it to. So,
Mhm.
and this gives you back to an example of, you know, is the skin an organ of detoxification? Yes, the skin is an organ of detoxification. So you go back to things like, wow, this makes me think of like doing a sauna again. Would that be another good way to take a lot of stress off my kidneys and my liver? Yes. You can see how we have rashes and we don't think of them as that's where my body's trying to get rid of something that it needs to get out of it, that it's not able to get out through the kidneys and the liver very well. So um, that's what I would think of. Let me review his things, and either I or one of the girls will call you tomorrow, okay?
That's
Okay.
great. Thanks. Appreciate your time and help.
Oh, you bet.
Dr. Cunners, on the Rife machine, this is Deb from Ohio. The Rife machine newsletter from True Rife. Anyway,
Yep.
they were discussing that this one lady says, did many people have trouble discharging the frequencies from their body? Because when she would walk into a room, the light would turn on. Then when she'd walk out, the light would turn off. And then she'd climb in her car, and it filled with her car electronics. And then the comments were saying that it's because your body's not strong enough to detox those frequencies.
Well, it's really not that. It's that there's people that are so sensitive to EMFs that they pick up frequencies easily, and it can discharge like that. Like somebody, whoever, they might be on the phone here or on the call here today, but I can't remember when that person was in the office. They said that multiple times. If it was a gentleman, I believe, because I think his wife told the staff that he's just super electromagnetic, and when he walks in a room, a light will go on sometimes, like that. I've had numerous patients that can't wear watches because their watch will stop, and they'll go get a new battery or a new watch, and the watch stops. The genetic component of that is a specific gene that there's 4 of the genes in the family. And if you remember going over your genetic piece, it's way down at the bottom of the whole genetic profile. People with defects in those genes have issues like that. So that can be a component that can be an issue with some people, yes. But it is specifically an issue with people with that gene defect.
So do you ground yourself? How do you discharge that?
Well, you have to. So if you have that gene defect, and there's 4 genes in that family, and typically those people have defects on all 4 of those genes that have really bad issues with EMFs. And we have numerous, especially you see this with Lyme patients, not as much with cancer patients, but you see it more with Lyme patients because people with really bad EMF issues tend to not be able to get rid of biotoxins very well. So they get bit with a tick with Lyme disease and they can't get over it. And they're hypersensitive to EMFs. So with our Lyme patients, it's almost a given they have a lot of defects on those genes. They tend to be hypersensitive to EMFs, hypersensitive to biotoxins. It's not quite as often with cancer patients. But you have to be more diligent with protecting yourself from EMF influence in your body, and that has to do with going back to all the EMF procedures of making sure you're turning off your phone when you're not using it, and using those protector devices on your telephone, because you'll get majority EMS from your cell phone and cell phone towers. And now this whole 5G thing is just downright scary. And EMF protection in your house and such. And then as far as grounding, go back to the grounding thing. So you're grounding yourself by going out and standing on the ground.
How about your grounding sheets and pillow?
Yep, those are devices to do that.
Okay, one more question. The light, the hammer bulb, you were saying covered up at night with your blankets. Can you also put like a black T-shirt over it so it doesn't interfere with circadian rhythms?
Well, I would prefer a Green Bay Packer T-shirt over it, but that's totally up to you. Not this year, though. Not this year.
Not this year.
Yeah.
It's
Okay to do that.
Yeah, maybe a Bears one this year.
Okay. Would it be okay to cover it with something black
Yes.
that
Yeah.
the light
Sorry.
doesn't come out of it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Another question came in. Is a copper zinc test a typical blood test done by a real doctor? That wasn't the question, but I know. But yes, it can be. You just have to ask for it. So if you're going in for a regular physical and you say, can I get a copper zinc ratio test done? Most of the doctors will go, I don't know. I can look up and see if we have it. But yes, they should be. It's not a atypical lab. So they should be able to run that. So if you are going in to your oncologist on a regular basis, ask for it. Demand it. Say, I need to get a copper zinc ratio, serum copper zinc ratio test, and see what they say.
Dr. Connors?
Uh-huh.
Lisa Nagel in New Jersey. How are you?
Good.
I have a question. I am using the US Enzymes Cleanzyme, and I am taking that as like my digestive enzyme, like 3 times a day. I love it. I think it's so wonderful.
So can I interrupt you right there real quick? So Cleanzyme does have their patented Astrozyme in it, but it doesn't have a lot of other digestive enzymes in it.
Okay.
So if you don't have really a digestive issue really bad, you could use it for your digestive enzyme, but really Cleanzyme is a product really for your liver more than anything else, because it helps. It's really got all the products in there to help you detoxify. It's helping liver pathways.
Okay.
So it's got turkey tail mushroom, it's got milk thistle, it's got a whole bunch of stuff in there. I love Cleanzyme. I take it every day. 2-3 times a day. So I'm with you too with Cleanzyme.
Yeah, it's I mean, I had digestive problems leading up to and with the cancer, but since I've been between my eating and everything I'm doing and everything, the digestive system totally calmed down and is not an issue. And this product, so I just want, okay, so that's not, if I feel like I'm eating a little, too much or something, I'll take a regular digestive enzyme.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other question is, how do you do the distance kinesiology?
How do you schedule it?
No, how do I know what kinesiology is, and I know you did it when I was there, but the distance, so you would do it with someone else or over my chart, or what do you?
Yeah, so if I told you, I'd have to kill you. And I like it. So literally, we pull up your chart, and literally Michelle and I are there, and we literally pray that God gives us the answers to this test, and that you are right there, and that the answers come from the Holy Spirit alone. And we do kinesiology just like you're laying there on the table.
Awesome. Okay.
So we do it right over the table, and I know there's some Christians would say, oh no, that's just voodoo or something. It's like, I don't think in God's eyes there's time and space, and he can give us those answers anywhere we want if we ask with the right heart. So
yep, I agree. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you so much.
So a couple of questions came in on the chat. One is, what's the best and fastest way to get electrolytes to cure or avoid dehydration? So there's a couple ways. We have a couple products. OptiMag from Zymogen is a powdered electrolyte product. And another one from Design from Health that's called something electrolytes, which is another powdered electrolyte product. But you can even take drink pickle juice. Yes, pickle juice has tons of electrolytes in it. So what are electrolytes in the first place? Electrolytes are minerals. So you're getting electrolytes when you're drinking your greens supplement. So do we put a lot of people on the OptiMag or on the powdered electrolytes? No, we don't. Because if you're drinking, you have the greens, put another couple scoops of greens in for today if you want electrolytes. You're getting electrolytes from your greens. And if you really need some electrolytes, drinking pickle juice has lots of electrolytes. So those are your fastest ways of getting electrolytes right there. The greens are a good food-based electrolyte, so that's a good source. Another question that came in, you referenced saunas earlier. Is having a sauna an effective cancer treatment, and would a long hot shower do a similar result? A long hot shower will not do a similar result. A sauna is the reason why that's effective. It's effective for two reasons, really, for a cancer patient. So number one, if you're going in the sauna and you're effectively sweating, you are getting out of your pores toxins. So you are using your skin as a tool of detoxification if you're in there sweating every day. That's number one. Number two, with a cancer patient, if you're in a good sauna and you're in there and it's hot and you're sweating, you are raising your core temperature. So you're not raising it a lot, but you might raise it up to 101 degrees, which is great because you're basically causing a fever state in the body, which is an immune stimulant. So that is just what the doctor ordered for a person with cancer. So a hot shower isn't going to do that. A hot tub is maybe going to raise core temperature, possibly, but there's not going to be any sweating in a hot tub. Hot shower, you're not going to really be sweating in a hot shower. Steam room, will a steam room do that? You have a club with a steam room, maybe, but the negatives of a steam room is that they're typically connected just to the water supply of the club, which is fluoride and chlorine. So you're basically breathing in chlorine and fluoride. That's not good. So I'm not a big fan of steam rooms, even though they're kind of fun. But you're better off in a sauna, or you're best off in sauna. A hot tub can help raise your core temperature a little bit if it's hot. But typically, a hot tub is the water. You can't tolerate water more than maybe 100 to 103 degrees. So there's no way you're really going to raise core body temperature up to the temperature of the water. So you're not really, hot tub's really just for comfort level and maybe muscle comfort, not really a cancer treatment. Okay, so I do need to also get to these questions on this email too. All right. A question is, a person is traveling with their Rife and maybe going to Egypt with their Rife, and how to get it through customs as a medical device. Okay, so that can be an issue. So I know we have shipped the Rife to various countries all over Russia, Bulgaria, a bunch of different countries. I have not shipped ever to Egypt or shipped to Israel, but none of the other Middle East countries. So I'm not really sure about their customs. But one of the things that we were told
Thank you,
by Mike
period.
Rife was that if you're going to tell the customs agent that it's a medical device, that can be an issue because they see a bulb and then they see a machine. They think it could be emitting radiation or something. And in translation, a medical device, this could be dangerous. We do not let any radiation emitting devices in our country, and you could have issues. If they see a bulb in a machine, what Mike at TrueLife said, just tell them it is just a neon a bulb machine. It's and we've always had it gone through. So I don't know that I would recommend saying that it's a medical device because I think that could cause more issues than anything. I think you're better off just claiming it as a neon tube machine. And I might have to, I think I'll email this person back with some wording that might be helpful. So I know that you're on this call. So I'll email you back with some wording that might be helpful that Mike at TrueLife gave us. Next question, this person said, how do I know from my phase angle my muscle mass? We don't know from your phase angle your muscle mass. The phase angle is an electrical reading of your cell membrane, not of the muscle mass. By that test we did, there's a way to look at muscle mass. So I'll have to look at your numbers again, and I'll see if we have that data. And the next question was, last question was, when I was there, I was testing to see if there's supplements. So I'll answer this one on the email too, so that you get a more detailed thing. Okay, I'm unmuting everybody. I have time for one or two more questions.
Can I ask you one question about the zinc and copper test? I need to repeat the IV gene. What would be better, copper, zinc, or the IV gene? What would you? I don't understand
well,
which
the
one.
copper zinc is not going to tell us, really a real picture of tumor burden, unless we had a previous copper zinc test. So if you want to really know the direction your cancer is going right now, and we have established a baseline and several follow-ups on your IV gene, I would say the IV gene test would be the best one to do. But to maybe start the copper zinc ratio test might not be a bad idea to get a baseline of that.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Connors, I have a question about colostrum.
Uh-huh.
I've had a couple of people within the last month talk about, building the immune system with, the colostrum. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, I'm concerned because my calcium is high and I don't want to add anything to that. I'm working really hard to get it down.
So I'm not a fan of colostrum for cancer patients.
Okay.
If you don't have cancer, colostrum is a great addition. It can be really healing for your gut. And one of the reasons why it's healing is it's high in IGF-1 levels. So, but remember, go back to some of those other Zoom calls and videos that I've done on IGF-1, insulin growth factor 1. We do not want to raise IGF-1 levels if you have cancer.
No.
So colostrum is a no-no for cancer patients typically.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Say you're on your way to work and you
Any other questions?
Hi, Dr. Kevin, Dr. Connors. It's Pearlie speaking. Thank you.
Hello, Pearlie.
How are you doing?
I'm doing super.
Hi. I'm just wondering, I'm thank you for answering my, because I want to travel to Cuba too.
Okay.
Cuba, it's okay to take my machine too?
I can't answer that definitively because I've never been to Cuba. I've never tried to take it into there. You're always dealing, whenever you take your machine into another country, you're dealing with a human who's making a decision.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the difficult. You get somebody who didn't eat lunch today, and they can be a little hankerous. So there is that risk factor. We used to do, we used to live in Mexico, and we used to do a lot of work and bringing stuff across the border in Mexico, doing missionary work, and it was always an issue where they were trying to get us to bribe them. And I felt for them, because they probably got paid almost nothing to do their job, and knowing that they were going to make money on bribes. But as a poor missionary, we didn't have any money to give them any money for bribes, and I just played stupid all the time, to the point where they got so disgusted with me that they let me go by. So,
It's not my style to bribing something.
Right, and my fear in any of that is that if they think they could make money off of a machine that you're bringing in, and they think there's value that they could resell it, I'd hate to have them confiscate it for them.
In this case, what's the solution? Because basically, I wanna, I'm from Europe and I'm traveling. I don't know, and I want to use my machine. I want to heal, this.
So how long are you going to be on this trip?
I'm planning to go to Cuba at least 2 weeks, but
Okay.
Sometimes I'm going to Europe for a month.
Well, I don't think you're going to have trouble in Europe. We've not had any issues with Europe. We've had numerous patients from European countries bring their machine back with them, no problem.
So the computer put it into the carry-on, and the machine can be put into the big.
Sure, you could put the machine in your carry-on, the computer in the carry-on. You could put the bulb in your checked luggage, and I don't think you're going to even get questioned.
Mm-hmm.
But going into to Cuba, I think that could be an issue. So I just don't know how strict or lax they are with whatever you bring into that country. So I've not had anybody go there before.
Oh, really? Because I want to get some sunshine. I'm living in Canada.
Vitamin D.
So do I. Can I go with you?
Yes, please. Bring your life machine.
Okay. Deal.
And I really, and I have another question. I made Coffee Animal a lot before and still do, and I really like it. How many I should make? Because I make usually one. Should I make 2? But it keeps me up during.
Yeah, I would just do right now. I would do 1. If you are having trouble having a bowel movement, and you feel like you're not getting everything out, then it's okay to do another one a little later in the morning. But many times people have trouble with the caffeine keeping them awake if they do it after 3 o'clock.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I would try to get it done before then if you're going to do a second or third one.
I'm sorry, I am a very, I think, bold person. I just want to ask something. Okay. So when you have a coffee animal, I'm talking generally, okay? And you look at the toilet, I look at the toilet. There are little, I think they are little fat yellow things. Is this normal? I think maybe it must be the bile with the fat coming out.
No, by the time, so what's going to come out in the coffee enema is in your sigmoid colon rectal area. You're not going to, by doing the coffee enema, you're not accelerating peristalsis. So what is in the first part of the small intestine, the only way what's in the first part of the small intestine, or in the small intestine at all, which is 20 feet long, the only way that is going to get into the toilet from a coffee enema is when peristalsis takes place, meaning contraction of the smooth muscle of the intestines that's going to push it through. A coffee enema will not open up the intestines and dump everything out of the intestines. So what you see in the toilet after you do a coffee enema was in the descending colon. That is the last couple feet of the large intestine. That's all you're going to get to come out. The purpose of the coffee enema is not necessarily to unconstipate a person, though if I have constipation due to feces that is kind of in a stasis mode in my last part of my large intestine, that will help open it up and help pull that out. But the purpose of the coffee enema is to stimulate the vagus nerve, that cranial nerve 10 that resides on the rectal area and the sigmoid colon, to stimulate that parasympathetic reaction, which is from cranial nerve 10, from the vagal nerve, that will stimulate the detoxification pathways in the liver. So bottom line, coffee enema's purpose is to help stimulate liver detoxification. It will not pull out pieces of fat and stuff. If you have fat that is undigested sitting in the last part of the large intestine, we have a gallbladder issue.
Oh yeah, because I do. I think I in this case I almost always have little yellowish things on the top of. So it must be fat.
Well, it doesn't. It's still, just because it's floating doesn't mean it's fat.
No.
You can see things in your feces that if you had a solid bowel movement, it would be hidden in the solid bowel movement. But since you have added coffee into the rectal area, it kind of liquefied what you had in the colon there, and it's going to come out in particles that would normally be formed into a solid bowel movement. So you're going to see particles of food, what you ate, that didn't get completely digested and broken down. It's not uncommon that people see like corn, because it's harder to digest. Some things that are harder to digest.
I always see a piece of food.
Yeah.
Dr. Connor, and I have another last question, because I two results is still pending. Pending, sorry. There is one of the DNA result, and I got an email here. I don't know what to do with that. I think I wrote it on my email. Do I need to get permit to get to the DNA result test?
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I will have Ann or Ashley reach out to you about that tomorrow on an email, so that I'll see if you're already registered or not, or that if you just give them permission, they can register you. So we'll get that taken care of.
Okay, thank you. And the other one, the thermo camera, I don't have anything back.
Okay, so we'll do that. I'll look at that email and we'll make sure we get all those questions answered for you.
Okay. Okay. I don't think so. I wrote the thermo camera there. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, you bet.
Are you okay? Is it cold there?
Is it cold here? Is that what you
Yes.
said? Oh no, it was like 12 today.
It's
12 degrees. Yeah,
it's cold.
it's cold.
Yeah, it's cold. So
It's
thank you
freezing.
again, and bless everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. We love you so
Please
much.
pray for me, okay? I'm
We
praying.
will, for
Mhm.
sure.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. All right, I think we better call it. We've been at 50 minutes today, so nobody's going to listen to this video if we get too much longer. And please email your questions in for next week, and continue to use the Facebook. So thanks, everybody.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Connors.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye-bye now.
Bye.